Hello, everybody. First check before I bring everybody. And I know that you all want to hear everything those great person have to say. But first of all, do you see me? That would be already cool. But the most important is, do you hear me? Classic stuff. I'm streaming a bit everywhere thanks to the amazing Mika. So we are on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're probably in your mailbox somewhere as well. But before that, if you can just put a thumb up and say that you hear me, that would be lovely. Then I see some comments getting in and I will feel comfortable that the technical aspect of stuff do work. At the same time, and I'm always doing that, yes, I see many people getting in. I will bring the guests. But before or during the time that I bring those, I'd love to know where you're from and your role. Always funny to have those kind of startup. Thank you, Mika. Hello, Terry. Hello, Bruno. Hello, Lils. Hello, everybody. I also want to know where you're from and your role, because then it can make it a little bit more interactive. Chris already laughs me out, so you know, because I have a paper and a pen, so he already laughs me out. So I hope that you will toast him very badly today. And I will bring first Sara. Hello, Sara. Don't forget that you're mute and the microphone may stay open, except if you have really crazy back noise. Then I bring Chris, and I will never say his real name, first name or last name. You will never hear me say something like
Try
that.
me.
No. For you, you're my buddy Chris. You owe me a hoodie, by the way, just so you don't forget. And then last but not least, we bring up Thomas as well over here. Hello there. So we have Bruno, Brazil/Belgium. That's lovely. If you have a kid, make sure that he plays for the Belgium team. If you have Brazilian blood, we really need this. Hello, Khalid. So I see many people over here. Just keep filling in. Kortrijk, Belgium represent over here. What I love to do, I know that we have 45 minutes. I'm really bad at timing, really, really bad, but I will try to make it in the 45 minutes. But before we start talking about data and all those crazy things, or I did some branding, by the way, Thomas, I hope you like my flag, just to make sure that you saw it. I love that everybody take like a few seconds just to drop who you are, who you work for. And if you had to pitch your job to your mom, that's like the awful question that everybody asks me. I still cannot do it, Sara, but you will need to do it now.
Me, pitch my job to my mom.
Yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, so basically, who is Sara? Who does she work for? What is your role? And if you had to pitch your job to your mom in like a few sentences, how does that sound?
Yeah, no doubt. So my name is Sara Archer, and I am the Chief Revenue Officer at a company called ChartMogul. And really all that means is that I look after all of our commercial operations. So how we price our products, how we get them in front of prospective customers, how those customers evaluate and purchase our product, and then how we support them over the course of their usage of our product. And what is our product? It's an analytics product for SaaS businesses. And so it's an opinionated analytics tool that calculates all of the subscription metrics that businesses with recurring revenue have. So Mom, if you upgrade or downgrade your Netflix subscription or you cancel, all of those little decisions your customers are making aggregates a lot of data that's hard for companies to make meaningful decisions on top of. And so we have a product that solves for those reporting challenges. How is that?
Amazing. Honestly, Thomas, you will need CRO instead of CSO to pitch as well. And just not putting the ladder, but just so you know, because your time is coming. I also saw little hearts in the eyes of Chris. We're talking about recurring revenue and the word revenue and again revenue. And Chris was like falling totally in love with what you said, Sara. I'm sure about it. So now, Chris, your time.
Yeah, I'm just in love with ChartMogul. That's why, and the level of excitement is skyrocketing, my friend. So that's why, So my name is Chris. I am, actually it's Krzysztof Szyszkiewicz, which is like unpronounceable. I go by Chris. I'm Polish. I'm co-founder of Valueships. We're a boutique consultancy working on pricing and monetization for technology companies. And if I were to tell my mom what I'm doing, actually, I would ask her a question, what is the price of soy sauce? And then most likely she wouldn't know what is the price of 1 liter of soy sauce. And I would say, hey, I am the guy who is actually trying to understand or help to understand companies how to price their products and why they are so cheap or so expensive. So yeah, that's me. By the way, do you know what's the price of 1 liter of soy sauce, Jonathan?
No clue, man.
No,
really
right?
no. I would say probably something around €3 something, probably, depending where you buy it. Okay, Thomas, your turn, man, and you need to
My
do better,
best.
guys.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Oh, hey guys, my name is Thomas, one of the founders here at Luzmo. Before we're called Kimalayo, and I know Sara and Jonathan a lot from SaaS conferences around. Jonathan used to be one of our customers, and I've always been one of the founders responsible for commercials, and these days focusing more on the bigger accounts and partnerships, and obviously working with you, Jonathan, on the marketing side.
Cool.
That's me.
You did very well, my friend. And you're also trying to convince me to come with a bike to work so that we can have our meetings while
When is our next
driving the
ride?
bike.
When is the next ride? The
You
first
see,
ride,
pressure
actually.
is on, pressure is on, pressure is on. First of all, I'm also making some excuses because I get private messages that I forgot my cape, and it's so true because I'm the only one that has a cape. Sara saw it and Chris as well when we were in SaaS, always wearing my cape. I forget about it, so really apologize for that. I'm John, a guy running marketing over here, trying to get a bit those amazing people in front of you. Very opinionated about things, and that's what I love about marketing and those conversation. No briefing, just the honest truth. Zero specialist, pricing specialist, a sales guy, and a founder over here. I do have prepared paper question. Chris, laugh me out one more time.
Where's
If
your
there are
fire
question
plan?
in the audience, if there are question in the audience, definitely drop them. I will pick them up at the end so that I can stick to at least some kind of a plan, because there is a lady, and I would love some applause in the chat as well for Mieke, which has been working very hard behind this entire setup as well and bringing those people here. And if you don't remember why you did register to this, it's probably because you're interested in some topic around dashboards, analytics, you will potentially survey, you're part of those 226 people. And now we're bringing all that back, and I have a lot to share with you at the end of the session, but I wanted to have opinion of people. And as I could spend a bit of time with Sara and Chris a few weeks ago, and we had amazing conversation during the entire day and a part of the evening, I said, I need those person on stage. And the idea was like, they saw already a bit of the crunching that we did behind it and wanted to have opinion and start just an open conversation. No good, no bad, just openness is what I'm expecting from all of you. And when I talk too much, just say, John, you talk too much. If you use too much buzzwords, watch out. That is really an extremely noisy element over here that I can use. Chris is already laughing. Let me maybe start with a question, and that will be for you, Sara, and we will see how people answered that in the chat. We know out of our long life in SaaS, there's dashboards or like a love and hate story most of the time for the people. Some love them, some hate them. Then come the quick other word, and I will not push the button for UX, but UX stands for user experience. And we think there is something broken over there. We might believe so. So I wonder, you probably have the figure, how many percentage, how many out of all the people still export data to Excel to manipulate the data instead of using, analytic platform, dashboard platform? I would love to see the audience that didn't answer maybe the survey, or even if they answered, on a scale from 0 to 100%, how many percentage of the users still export data to Excel? I will give them a few seconds. You already have an idea about it, I guess. Let's see if they add it in. They will not add it in. Do you have an idea, Chris?
I just put it in the chat. I would say 120% of people, because most of them are exporting it twice.
They're doing it more than once.
Yeah.
I buy that. Okay, Go ahead.
You have to export it twice because you forgot that column that you need. And you only realize that once you've started to run like a pivot table or something.
And then you say yes, and I may start all over again and all over again. 100% agree.
And you have CSV1, CSV2, CSV3, and you're trying to remember which is the right one.
Then it's
and
like
of course, you don't have
one.
any sensitive data in that. Don't get me wrong, Sara. No personal information that are stored on the laptop either, because I know that you're in Germany, which I'm in Belgium. GDPR. We will not start about that topic and the export end. But I see some figures coming in. 400%. Hey, Mr. Morton. Just so you know, it's not odd. It's Morton. I had an amazing chat with that guy last week. No, 72% of people export the data to Excel. And then there is like, what is the biggest challenge behind dashboard was also a question that we were asking in our survey, you know, because I'm still believing, we always say we are like one step of a customer, but at the end of the day, it takes less than 2 seconds to be 20 steps of our customers. So that's why I wanted to run that survey. And if I tell you that interactivity is the biggest pain that we see, or the missing element in dashboard, if we try to bring those two figures together, Sara, 72% of the user export to Excel, and then interactivity is the biggest challenge using dashboard, 51%. What are your thoughts about that? Because in your platform, ChartMogul, we cannot say that there are not a lot of dashboards. You can do a lot of things. So I think that is definitely something where you can maybe drop some lights for us to understand maybe why is that the reality of the market?
Yeah, so when you think about analytics or reports that data teams are charged with generating, a lot of times those data teams are service providers to other stakeholders in the organization who are trying to ask and answer questions about what is the right strategy. And the very nature of being that kind of service provider sometimes requires exploratory analysis. And so there's, you know, these two sort of conflicting sides. One is I want to build a dashboard that users can log into and see at a glance the insights and the takeaways quick. But on the other hand, you know, we're always going to have users that want to do that sort of scuba diving, that exploratory analysis. And so I think my learning here from being in this space for some time is that your data strategy should actually work in combination with this exploratory analysis instead of against it. And so ChartMogul is quite interesting in the sense that like there are lots of predefined reports and charts where you can see insights at a glance, but our whole strategy has been in not fighting Excel, but working with it. And so we know that we have very specific user types and user groups who are going to want to continue pulling data out and manipulating it in their own way. So from our product and business strategy, it's all about actually working in concert instead of against. So maybe the takeaway there is, you know, just, you know, looking at these two figures as the reality with which we operate, and then kind of working, you know, with that in mind.
I will jump in what you said, because there was something that was like, ta-da, bubble light. Like Thomas said, I was also a client of Luzmo. And I remember that we had a challenge. You try from one hand to have those ready to consume dashboards, like you said, you know, and you have a lot in ChartMogul where you say, oh, we have to think about all those variant that people. And as soon as you provide that, you have like 20 upgrades that comes on those classic one. Although the people, I have always the feeling in French, we say you try to run before to walk. How do you bring that? I do get that your strategy is then trying to fill the gap and trying to keep a balance between that. But how can you work around that? Because out of a product perspective, you try to have like streamed dashboards as much as you can, because that's scalable. But as soon as you bring a new filter, more customization, more personalization, the scaling around that can be a bit more tougher. So how can you balance that out of a support? I will not start with professional services, just making a joke if the people are over here. How can we work around that?
How can we work around the idea that folks are going to work and do exploratory analysis outside the product? Is that the question?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's just tough. As soon as you start scratching it, you want to go deeper. How can you balance that? You will avoid that from 2 data points, they're already looking at drilling down instead of first having maybe that global overview, because you provide already that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's having a strong sense of the kinds of analytics you want to provide your customers in our case, right? And so like we at ChartMogul want to stay sort of, and this would apply to like any sort of like data approach, right? Where it's, we want to provide an opinionated analytics experience so that you have sort of like table stakes, and the time to insight is like much faster. So you log in, you see the dashboard, you see the insight, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, great, that makes sense. But if you want to dig just a little bit deeper, you're able to export and work with those raw things. But I think that that's as far as we're willing to go. And so we empower you to like export and explore and do your scuba diving on your own, but like you have to kind of be a certified scuba diver. We're not going to like let you drag and drop crazy things, because that would kind of destroy the integrity of offering something that is opinionated and out of the box and says, no, this is exactly how you ought to report on these things, because we're experts at exactly this. And if you want to be on the fringe, have at it, but that's on you, not us.
I love the fact that you use the word opinionated. I use that quite often at Luzmo. When you say opinionated analytics, what does it mean? It's like when people logged in ChartMogul, you say you did a great job, you did a bad job. Is that opinionated marketing?
No, it's not that.
Opinionated analytics, sorry.
So I think where data teams get sometimes stuck is in defining a report or a dashboard or a metric. So in our world, we have SaaS metrics. And so we're opinionated about what constitutes churn and how to calculate, for example, customer churn rate. And sometimes data teams can get a little bit too creative about things that just don't need to be creative. And so this is where teams get really stuck and paralyzed. And there's sometimes some conversations around, well, is it a marketing qualified lead, or how do you calculate customer lifetime value? And they get a little bit too flexible, and it results in chaos. And so when I say opinionated, I mean, this is the data that we're super familiar with. We know what is a churn rate. We know what is a lifetime value. We know what is net revenue retention. So trust us to calculate and show you those things. And then anything that you want to explore can be specific to your business, but we're going to give you sort of the industry standards on these things with really strict definitions, reasonably strict definitions.
I have an unpopular opinion here. Can I add something, Jonathan? So
yeah, sure.
Don't you think, friends, that exporting things to actually Excel CSV should be a gated features, like in the only the most expensive plan? Because then, of course, I'm like a pricing person, so I would like to put higher price like on everything, of course. But then, if you think deeper about this, if people are starting to export the data from your software, right? If your dashboards are not good enough, not configurable enough, etc., it means that the usage of your solution is lowered. And we know, as a matter of fact, the lower is the usage of the solution, then the lower, like the higher possibility of churn
risk
of yours, right? So then when you think about this, if you're a solution and you want to show dashboards to your clients, if they are not usable, so to say, but you from insights broker, you're becoming just a data broker, right? So it's a bit of a positioning question, right? How to make sure that your customers are actually adopting the dashboards and can work with your dashboards, and then making, exporting this data to Excel unpleasant for them, or at least expensive, right? So I'm taking the risk that, it is exportable. I'm getting a price for it because it's more expensive. And then I am okay that at some point they can churn because they perceive me as a data broker rather than an insight broker. So I think there's a bit more flavor to the concept of exporting the data. And we are doing a lot of data crunching ourselves. We're running around 100 primary researches, quantitative in our business. And I remember we just resigned from the solution that didn't provide us like the initial value like this, right? Well, all the data had to be exported in order to transform them. So wanted to bring a bit of a pricing flavor or price tag flavor to the conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I see Thomas doing like this as well.
I think it's a very fair point, Chris. And Sara, if you allow me, you speak about, I love the wordings of certified scuba divers. Imagine I would be a scuba diver, but I'm not certified, so meaning I can't work with Excel. I'm very basic level. How do you deal with those types of users? I'm pretty sure you also have these guys.
Yeah, I mean, we have different user groups that we have to cater to, right? So I guess the alternative is like some people can barely swim. We have surface level users who will log into the dashboards and reports and pull, for example, the customer churn rate for Q2. And they're never really doing anything deeper than that. And that's perfectly okay. In fact, we want the product to have a really satisfying and quick, easy answer for them. And to satisfy the other user groups takes a different positioning and product marketing strategy. And so actually something we built a few years ago was a concept of data destinations. So you actually think about the concept of sending data. It's all normalized data, computed metrics with sort of our opinion about how to compute things like churn. And you can actually send it to Redshift, or you can basically use ChartMogul almost as like an ETL tool to send your data elsewhere. But then you really have to be that certified scuba diver, because if you don't know the data model, if you don't know what's in the tables, what the columns mean, then there's ostensibly nothing meaningful you can do, to satisfy a question within the business. And so what we try to do, Jonathan, is we try to do training sessions with folks, and we give them away for free. We call these training sessions extending the functionality of. And so when we see someone's doing this really superficial usage of the reports and dashboards that we make available, we're like, hey, we get it. Everybody has a different entry point to data literacy. And so let us show you what's possible, what you can do sort of beyond the functionality that might be obvious on a dashboard. And I think that that's a cool concept that could apply to lots of data teams, where when I sit down with our head of data, and he's showing me superset dashboards and he's showing me Jupyter notebooks, I'm like, this means nothing to me. But if we can take 2 steps back and kind of understand like the approach, then I can start to click. So I think it's a little bit about meeting people where they are with like their data literacy, and sort of catering to these different user groups.
I love it. You just emphasizing the fact that I need to work on an academy as well, on top of like the onboarding part, which was more the point of Chris, making sure that people get the quick value. But then there's that next move about making all my user. In my previous company, I said our job was to make them superhero about customer activation. Now I need to make them superhero in scuba diving and data. There is definitely something to work out about that as well. I really like the point as well. Chris, by the way, don't forget, because Ola will be very mad at me if you don't share the link about the entire research that you did as well about pricing, because you were pinging on pricing. Conscious of time as well, and I see that people are like really sticking with us, and interesting topic. Thank you, Terry, for that. Thomas, your time?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. If I tell you that 61% of SaaS builders says that analytics are very important for their app, what is your opinion about that first figure? So I repeat, 61% of SaaS builders say analytics are very important for their app. And watch out, because Chris is already in the starting block on that one as well. I know it. Do you feel comfortable? Is that because like you're a long time in the business?
Actually, Chris already answered my opinion on that. Basically, it's very much also my opinion. If you look towards our users, or let's say the software companies we work with, their end users are key. Obviously, they use their platforms daily, weekly, monthly. They generate data with every click they do. So basically, the data is center of the application, and of course they want to offer the users insights at any moment in time in any possible way. And that's also what we've seen. Chris, you mentioned if they can't look at the data the way they want, there's a possibility for churn. And if you can offer that experience, that analytics that you're striving for, obviously you have more engagement. You basically, your users are often more used to your application, and you have churn decreasing. So that's very much why I believe the 61%. Yeah, that's a number. It's very much correct as well.
Okay, but then how can we explain today that based on that still STEM research, 67% don't believe that they are really added extra value to their product by providing those?
Yeah.
It seemed very strange for me, you know, like it's obvious, but at the end, it's maybe not.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen over the years is we've been working with small organizations and growing, and bigger ones. If you're actually like starting out, you have a rather limited user base, a unified experience, as you call it, like Sara also mentioned, can be very much okay, right? 1, 2, 3 dashboards that cover, let's say, not if not all your customers. But once you start growing, you'll have users a bit more savvy, the certified scuba divers, that want to have a different look at the dashboards in the way they want to handle the data, and then it becomes more tricky and also more, let's say, tougher for product managers, engineers to offer that experience. And there, you'll get some friction. You'll get also, yeah, we need to have something more. Either you see your users exporting, or you can start tailoring for it. And I think the number is 67% that are not happy or not confident enough. Once you
It's
start growing,
confident.
you
It's
have that,
even worse.
yeah, not
It's
confident.
confident.
So either you look internally for resources, or you start thinking about, okay, how can I tailor for it, and what's my best possible way of offering an experience to the different types of end users you built over the years.
Kind of like that. How can we, and it's maybe to the audience again, and I would
Yep.
be happy to see some elements of the chat. How do you think we can improve that confidence at a founder level? Because at the end, that's what I'm trying to do with marketing. My job is to convince them that it does bring added value. How could we, like, I would say, get to 30% unconfidence, I would say, instead of 67? What would be a magic trick from experts that I have over here, just so that I can steal from the best?
I mean, one idea just that comes to mind is building a company culture around data literacy. So if you have something like a town hall meeting, or you do an all company session, looking at data and describing data in a way that indicates a high level of data literacy and requiring this at departmental levels. Like, I think everyone's been in a meeting where someone's put up a really crap pie chart and explained something, or someone put something up that's not statistically significant, and there's no questioning happening around it. So that's something that we try to do in our teams.
I think, like building up on what Sara have said, I would say that this data literacy will be quite important, but also, taking, not teaching, but maybe sharing knowledge about the statistics in general might be quite useful. So what is, for example, significance, right? Or like if this data, you find it not trustworthy, and because you found one outlier, it doesn't mean that this data is not trustworthy, right? And typically when you are presenting this data, you have that, I don't know, the pricing corridor is like, from my perspectives, from 99 to 199. Then you always have this one guy who is saying, but I had this one client who paid like 299. Yeah, that's great, right? But it doesn't disprove the point, right? That the corridor is in between 99 and 199, right? So I think that, actually for me, what was like, when I still I was start to working with data, is that, one outlier doesn't disprove the thesis. That's number one. And what is the significance? What significance means, right? That this is like, this data is like 95% confident. That means that around 5% of the cases will be outliers. Fine, that's great. It doesn't mean that the point that we're making still holds. So that was like in my company, having these conversations with my clients quite a lot, and this really pushes the needle from my perspective.
That was not for you, just so you know, Chris. It's just that Niels asked the context of the question, and because Mika prepared everything very well, I could shoot it out directly to Chris. So I hope for him that it's more clear that way. But it's good that you are on the spotlight, my friend. Or dashboard deads or not? Question mark?
No, I don't think so. I think they're more than alive never, to be very honest, because right now with all the data avalanche that we are receiving, especially with the AI change and tons of data flowing our way, even more than it used to be like 2-3 hours, not hours, but most likely hours as well. Years ago, we will need to have like the analytics and dashboards in place to uncover what is really true and to see what is really significant. So I don't think that dashboards are that. That's one thing for sure. Secondly, I saw a lot of my clients, we have this, and I will bring this up. Sorry, Jonathan, I promise not to, but I will bring this up. So we have the solar panels example, right? That I was mentioning quite some time ago. So friends, solar panels in Poland, crazy good. And you know why? Because all the applications, all the solar panel providers are showing the customers, the end customers, the data, how much electricity they're saving, and then you have my dad opening his app every day and browsing through his dashboard, because it is a dashboard, showing them how much he's saving with his solar panels. And it feels like he's investor, right? It's like, he's saving money, he's like crazy, right? And Poland in particular is not like super eco-friendly country, right? But solar panels are a really big deal in here. So it shows us, and this is just a simple example, but it shows us how good data presentation that is showing the value, that is not showing you only the data, but is showing you an insight, right? Because there is a very big difference between the data and the insight that you are receiving.
Exactly.
And then the saving is an insight there. Actually made the whole industry gigantic in our country. So if anyone claims a dashboard, maybe we need a new word, right? Instead of dashboard and inside board or something like that. I don't know. But if you're just working with dashboards that are, showcasing you the data in a nice manner, most likely that won't be that useful. ChatGPT can already do it to present the data. But if you're looking for insights, you can definitely get insights with dashboards. So I'm not sure that they are like, I'm pretty sure that they are not that.
I love it. And I think it totally makes sense what you said, because out of the research we did, we had 58% of the user would give us more money if they had the ability to get insights. And I love what you said. Data is not insights.
Yeah,
and
it is not.
58%. And if we think about pricing, which is definitely like your go-to, I can only imagine about how many companies could make more revenue by addressing the insights.
And it is two-sided.
I'm a huge fan of Strava and Garmin, and Magic challenged me to run more. I spend my time consuming those things about my heartbeat, my pace, my blah, 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 blah. The reality is I need to train more. Boils down to that, but that's something everybody knew. But I'm still spending more time, and I'm now paying Strava, the paid version, because I get more data and AKA more insight about my personal performance then.
And it is two-sided thing, because when you think about this, like if you go to the profit, right? Data can help you, insights can help you both save costs and increase revenue. From the saving cost perspective, why people are willing to pay more, we've been running a research with e-commerce companies, and it turns out that 70% of e-commerce managers were capable of taking better decision while receiving an insights about the competitors on the monthly basis. There was no meetings around this. They were just receiving the data, insight, debrief about the competitors, and they were capable of taking better decisions. So it can save you costs, right? Because you have one place where this is all aggregated, one single source of truth. The whole company can go into towards that direction. So it saves you a lot of cost, because people are just not spending time or looking for the data and then just arguing. I found this and I found that, and they're like, not the same. So let's argue about nitty-gritty details, right? So on the cost side, I'm not very surprised that it brings higher willingness to pay. Then on the other side, on the revenue side, this is quite, I think, quite. I don't want to say obvious, but I totally understand why people are willing to pay more for insights for better insights, right? With better insights, you can communicate value better, you can communicate your price better, you can compete better with your competitors, you can be faster, right? Faster. And with the pace of the work right now, being fast is quite important. So I would say that the data point is surprising, because I would say it should be 95% of the people, but
that's why you're here, man. That's why you're here.
Number,
That's why you are here, and that's Sara doing yes, agree. It's just that I need to convince that audience about it.
The side of obvious, state of obvious.
I'm smiling because I recently, if I may, just quickly, I recently went through a renewal process with one of our vendors. So it's quite interesting. Sometimes they have this terrible thing called a quarterly business review, where a vendor that you buy from tries to tell you about your strategic priorities, and you're like, I don't know you from Adam. But it was a 3-slide presentation, and she put it on the screen, and it was like, here's what your usage of our product has looked like over the last year. And she gave me the entire narrative and the data. She said, here's what you're using, here's what you're paying for, but you're not using. And here's what we see other people like your company using that you are not using. And so she framed this whole narrative for me. The next slide was her pricing. And I was like, cool, I don't even have to go justify this decision to our CFO because she's already done it for me. And so that was a really powerful way that, this person had just put together the data, the insights, and the narrative for me in a 3-slide presentation. And I was like, good, take my money.
It's amazing, yeah? Thomas,
yeah, and
we should snip from minute 36 to test.
And that was a PowerPoint presentation, or was it in the product you're using?
It was in the product that we were using.
So you can basically consolidate you could put it up right now if you could.
Yeah, I mean, I want this inside of ChartMogul, so I can.
Of course.
We've built it in BI. We can see account usage, but wouldn't it be cool that if users could find this on their own?
Of course, that's a good one.
Love that.
But it's funny because it's referring to, not only this is a side topic a bit, right? But it's not like we're talking about a lot about sales funnels, etc. And it seems like the person that Sara you were talking to, put the lens of the buyer funnel, right? So how you're buying, how you want to present your spend to your CFO, and this person is just doing the job for you, right? You have all the data in place, and then imagine it was clickable, the data, or you can work with the data within the offer. How cool it would have been. Maybe Luzmo can do it actually. So
I told you, the lack of interactivity is annoying 50% of the users of dashboards. It's the lack of interactivity, the thing that people want to drill down. I think that is also a bit between the lines of what Sara said. As soon as those guys extract because they want to do some scuba diving, there is a middle line in there where I think that's technologies like Luzmo and other can already go for I would say the medium scuba divers should be able to do it within their own app. And that is, Thomas knows that much better. That is, I think, customizable, and personalization is probably where companies like Luzmo are evolving much more. At least that's what we feel from the market as well as a demand. We have even clients today that ask us, could you give our editor to the end user so that they can start crunching the data themselves? So like you said, Sara, the lovely pie, but at the end, wire pie versus the bar, and then you want to build a second dimension in there. They have no clue. So they want to see how. What I notice as soon as we go into that direction, there is much more support required from our end as well, because like you also said, Sara, people not always aware of what do they have as data available to be able to identify those things. And that is something I kind of like this. I saw thank you, Lindsay. She put this. I love the fact that I think that is where I love that the fact that education is embracing change, I never had the chance to do something like this at school, bringing directly that mindset within the students to be able to work around and evolving around it. So a big applause for that initiative. I think it's definitely the way to go, if you ask me. Cool. Question from the audience. I think you tackle them quickly. I'm conscious of time. 39 minutes live. We said 45. One day, will I be keeping my timing? Probably not, because I don't like to keep my timing, to be sure. Chris, there is some promo time over here, so I will re-put you on the mainstream.
No, I'm looking on the Terry's question by the
sorry,
way.
I didn't.
So it is
Here you go then.
quite interesting. What is the role? What role does an AI agent have in interpreting the data and forming reliable and accurate insights? So I think that the question is I think you can't really escape on maybe a controversial opinion and maybe not futuristic enough, maybe because I'm just
opinionated. Chris, use the word opinionated.
It's a very opinionated thing that I would just say, friends. So the thing is that I think that you can't really escape. So one thing, as answering your question, is that yes, AI agents will be important, and I think they will help people to work with the data, analyze the data, etc. One thing that will be quite hard, and I see this in my pricing studies that are like business specifics, you need to have. You need to make sure what questions you would like to ask, right? So, and this is where AI, of course, can help and can source you with the ideas. But if you are not data literate, it will be hard for you to go to scratch, below the surface, right? You will learn like the basics. Your NRR should be 130, crazy, below 100. You should work on expansion revenue. Those types of insights, I think AI agent can provide you with already right now. Nevertheless, I think if you want to go deeper and if you on the data translator, so to say, role, still you need to know what to ask for, and data literacy will help with that for sure. And then imagine that you can use Excel, but you don't really know math. Then Excel is not that helpful. Of course, it can be a bit helpful, but it's not that helpful if you don't know the basics. I don't know, you don't know what the standard deviation is, for example. So I think that it's going to be AI human collaboration for this particular part. But Jonathan, Sara, Thomas, maybe you have any other opinions, because I think the question is spot on.
Let's go, Sara.
Sure. I mean, this is really top of mind for me because I'm writing a blog post right now. We've just built something experimental over the course of the last 2 weeks, where you can connect our analytics product to AI tools that support the model context protocol. And essentially what that means is it just allows you to chat with your revenue data. And the use cases are pretty remarkable. It's exploratory, it's new, but I think to your point, Terry, yes, people are lazy and they want to be delivered these insights. And what I'm seeing so far is that it's just making the data quite a lot more accessible. And so the use cases are you can do really quick ad hoc analysis conversationally. But you can also clean and normalize the data. Like today I was playing with this in Claude, and I can say, find for me all of the potential duplicates using this logic, or normalize this data set based on this guidance. And so I didn't even know our data team was working on this, and they were like, hey, this is ready for customers to test. And so hopefully that means it'll just make all of this a bit more accessible. I guess with what Chris was saying, which it needs some gut and mind checks, because you don't know, it's sometimes hallucinating on domains that don't exist or little things, but it's pretty crazy.
I can add to that, John. Maybe a few cents on mine. I totally agree with you, Sara, Chris. If you tie back to the type of end users that might be growing variety over time, I think when I speak about AI and AI agents, what I see speaking to our customers and SaaS builders is especially end users who don't have a lot of time and want an answer to their question. Then an AI or an AI agent comes in. Or secondly, tying back to the uncertified scuba divers, if you just don't have the skills to either to work with Excel or then have the time to build any skills, then you just ideally work with an AI agent to basically give the insights you can't find directly into the platform you're working with. So fully agree with you, Sarah, Chris. So it gives you extra options to serve customers that you aren't serving at the moment with your application.
And then if you want to go deeper, for example, again, sorry for coming back to pricing, the only domain that I know. That's why. No, but the thing is that if you want to know the pricing corridor, like what is like minimum, maximum price, okay, you can get this insight. But then you can go deeper, right? So what is the pricing psychological threshold? So you need to know the term, the psychological thresholds of pricing. What is the revenue maximizing price? Those are the questions that you need. You need to be a domain at least literate. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to know the domain a bit in order to ask these questions. So I think that's why it's a conversational. That it needs to be a conversation, and you need to know the domain that you're working in order to use the full power of an agent. But to get high level view, I think that the agents will be enough.
I also believe it's today, and first of all, Sarah, love the fact that you use model concept protocol instead of MCP, because Chris is using jargon words and the buzzer was a bit too far. Otherwise I would have buzzed him very hardly, but I was too late. But if I try to summarize what you say about those agents, because I think that is definitely the hot topic about the moment, it's like surface question, pretty basic stuff is definitely where the AI can deliver today. As soon as we try to go a step further, it requires not only data skills, but also to be able to work around those agents with the prompting, the questioning, and everything that goes around it, that make it a bit more, I would say, less accessible to the entire world. Would it be correct to say that way? Chris, was that your point or not? Go deep in that. That's why I throw it back.
So
how far can you go with an agent at the end? Would it fully replace a human data analyst? I think that's where the people want to have opinion about it.
Yeah, the thing is that we are looking for the very simple answers to the very complex topics, and this is hard to say. Sorry for to put you to put you on spot. But the thing is, from my perspective, I think it will transform, right? So the thing is that, for me, what is 100% for granted, it's very hard to be junior nowadays, right? So it will, if you're just entering your data analyst career, etc., this might be hard. I'm not envy for students who are, or people who are just thinking what college they should choose, because this is unknown. For junior, for the very easy task, yes, of course. In the future, for more complex tasks, yes, most likely. But replacing, I think this is not a good word to use. Most likely, it will make some of the it will make us a bit, not a bit. It will make us more efficient. That's for sure. But still, the point of the question was about also the first part was about the data literacy. And I think that if you don't know the basic concepts, if you know how data works, and this won't be that helpful for you. Most likely you want at your team that was data team that was consisting of 7 people, might be the need of 4, 3 to a certain extent, but I wouldn't say that it was fully replaced, at least in the short midterm, right? Because I'm also fully with you, and I like your point that this is what we know for today, right? I'm not sure if you have seen yesterday, I'm not sure if this is even true because of so many data that we're receiving, but the OpenAI hardware. So have you been thinking about OpenAI hardware that will, collect all the data and all the things that you're saying to make your life easier? I haven't been thinking about this by 3 p.m. today, to be honest, when I saw the LinkedIn post about this, right? So my point is that, in my opinion, what we know for today, it will make our it's going to be helpful for people who don't know data at all to get some insights, that's for sure. But then if you want to go deeper and if you really want to act on your data, you will still need data literacy, then be quite like an expert or at least specialist in the topic. And this is what we know or this is what I know for today.
So that's a good point that Joe was like expressing over here. That basically you still need something like AI to understand all that step and go deep.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And I will just, sorry, because you'll click on me because I'm speaking too much because I just love to speak. But the thing is that, for some of the data, yeah, we're running, for example, quantitative survey with 2 open-ended questions, right? And then, getting an insight from an open-ended, from the open question where just people can type in sample 300 was super hard for humans because we need to categorize that, and then there is a cognitive burden when you're actually just reading 300 answers. And then in that particular data analysis, AI, it is much better than humans. It's not only as good as people, it is much better in categorization for us, at least for our research in open questions. So of course, what I was saying, at the beginning, that those are hard questions and we're looking for easy answers, because it depends, right? It depends by the data you are trying to analyze. It depends by how deep you want to go, etc., etc. There most likely there is a framework to it, like a matrix that talks about this topic, but I don't know it. But maybe I should invent it. So fingers crossed for next webinar.
You will come up with good things. Joe, I will get back to most of your questions, definitely. But yes, we do have AI as well. Yes, you can build dashboards with AI directly, but I can take that one on the side. Is there somebody that wants to still share something with the audience before I do one extra thing and then it's showtime? Chris, if you don't talk about your research, I'm dead, man.
No, it's gonna be fine. It's fine. Jonathan was referring because we're gathering plenty of pricing data, and recently we shared the pricing benchmarks on CE region, but we also have a benchmarks for Benelux regions. We also have benchmark for France. So if you're interested how actually SaaS companies are charging for their software, we do have benchmarks, and maybe next time we should actually visualize it with Luzmo. Because before I met Thomas and Jonathan, I was not aware, and our data are pretty static, so maybe that's why not so many people are downloading this amazing research. So
the good is that you know it, and we will be happy to support you on that as well, my friend.
We have a deal. It's recorded.
It's recorded. I'm not scared. Sara, do you want to add something, maybe?
I think I'm all set here. I mean,
you're all set.
Changing crazy fast. I mean, this MCP server stuff's nuts, and I just want to spend more time with our data team after this conversation. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for being with us, Sara. Thomas.
Nothing special. I'm looking forward to your surprise, John.
Okay, then now I need to make showtime now and try not to break everything at the same time, trying to run screen sharing and everything, which is now stuck, of course, otherwise it wouldn't be fun at all. Here we go. Yes, share. I don't know if we have it on the screen. Yes, we even have it on the screen. So the URL will be dropped in the chat. That is, but you see it, research.luzmo.com. So as I told you, everything we have been discussing, the couple of figures that we've been dropping, are part of an entire research that we have done. So dashboard dead, dying, or evolving. And I hate gated content. Hear me well? I hate gated content. I want to give as much as I can to the community because you help us build this. So what you see over here is all those analytics, and there are drill downs, they are interactive, you can play with it. There are many data points that you can use to maybe make better decisions from data to insights. Just love that. I will make stickers of that, Sara, just so you know about it, because of you, because data are not insights. I need to make t-shirts of that. We put everything accessible, you can drill down. And if you want to see how we build this in less than a day, and when I say we, I should not say we, it's basically Mika, which I still need applause over here, which is hidden down over here somewhere. And the guy that built this is one of our product manager called Yannick. He hates being put behind a camera. He's not like John and Chris. He hates it. If I get 10 people that tell me we want a live coding session to see how he has built this amazing report using our own technology, I convince him. And during the summer, we do a live coding session when you can see the entire SDK in action of Luzmo. But I need at least 10+1 for that. Otherwise, I will not be able to convince him, neither is boss, to give me basically Yannick for probably 60 minutes. But so, yes, go for it. Yes, 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 it's okay. I already probably have 10 over there. Thomas, I will have some channel in our next executive committee because I will need Yannick now on stage to do a live coding session with our SDK, cursor, and all that black magic behind this. But again, that's the funny part of it. I think the most important part for the audience over here, really have a look at it. We were able to build those insights thanks to your answers to the survey. We will be dropping as much value out of this webinar, the research, during the weeks to come. I would say consume it without any limits. That's the entire idea over that entire movement that we try to build in that community. I want to say again, a huge thank you to you, Sara. I know that you were traveling back as well from the US, so big thank you for being with us. Chris, finally we made it, man. Finally we made it. And Thomas, always a pleasure to have you with us as well. Big thank you to all of you. Yes, and that was it for me.
Thank you. I will make the one final remark. It's good that you were taking notes because if it was an AI, it would have think that we are on the scuba diving classes. So, you know.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the audience. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Yannick. Thank you, the team that's built it. Thank you to all the participants. And of course, this lovely panel. Love you, folks. Have a lovely afternoon and see you soon.
All right, take care.
Thank you.